So the Alabama Crimson Tide came into this game after a heart attack of a win versus South Florida, a game where they did wake up in the fourth quarter, and there were some good things to take away from that game, but a lot of ugly too. At the end of the day, a win is a win. The defense played good. On top of that, you see what happens when Alabama plays their best, but the ugly was real ugly. A lot of penalties, the yellow flags were all over the field, the line did not look good, and the secondary almost gave up some plays. So coming into this game, many Bama fans, including myself, wanted to see, with the addition of Caden Proctor to this offensive line, how would it look with him coming off of this shoulder injury? Would we see improvements in this offensive line, and would Alabama play a more clean game? I think that was the main question marks coming into this game. If Bama plays clean, they win easily. But the second question would be Alabama's offense. Would it start out slow once again? So in this game, it was not simply about just winning for this Alabama Crimson Tide team. It was about how they would look in a win. And this was the best game out of the three for the Alabama Crimson Tide so far. A complete game from start to finish. I loved every second of it. Now, there are some things I'm going to nitpick on later in this video, and there will always be things to clean up in a game. No game is just totally perfect, but this is one of those games where you see improvement and you're proud of it. We're going to recap this game in its entirety, the stats, and then my overall opinions of this game. So before we get into this video, make sure that you guys like, comment, and also subscribe to the channel. And with that, let's get into this video. So early in this game, Wisconsin would lose their starting QB Tyler Van Dyke to a non-contact knee injury, and that never bodes well. I hope that he makes a full recovery, and you hate to see that. Wisconsin would start us off with a field goal. Bama would try to answer, but then you got this. Wide right. All Bama fans know the hurt, the pain, the agony that we felt before Will Riker got there. I think our kicker here will be fine. He was the best in the country last year. Just a bad draw right here. Either way, Bama's defense had to show up, and they would. A great TD saving tackle right here. A great, well, I'll let you see.
Want to go deep. Oh, he got smashed.
After a failed fourth down attempt, Alabama's offense would answer the call with a touchdown pass to Ryan Williams, who is just too fast, too quick for you not to bump him off of the line of scrimmage. And in the second quarter right here, Jalen Milroe would do Jalen Milroe type things, getting a easy rushing touchdown right here, basically jogging in the end. Wisconsin would try to answer with a field goal, but
he just missed it.
And with that, we have a few seconds left before halftime. Alabama once again would show just how explosive they can be. And in the blink of an eye, 36 seconds to go, a pass to Ryan Williams, and then a touchdown pass to Jeremy Bernard. Halftime score 21-3. And I'll say it once again, like I will say all season long, Jalen Milroe is one of the best, if not the best, deep ball passer in college football. And I want to give a big old shout out to Mark Ingram. He was doing the halftime report along with some other colleagues. I enjoyed watching him in his new position, and I just wanted to give him a quick shout out right here. He brings a energy to that cast that I think is much needed. And so now we're in the third quarter, and we get another big play. Jam Miller gets a 34-yard touchdown right here, and he is not touched by a single soul. I think Moses himself came back down and parted the Red Sea once again, because no one was near him. Nothing but daylight, an easy touchdown score, and now it is 28-3. It was all about the big plays for this team today, which isn't a bad thing. I'm not mad at that at all, but I'm going to touch on that a little bit later in this video. Wisconsin would score a touchdown after a pretty good drive, 8 minutes or so during that drive, a few fourth down conversions during this drive as well to make the score 28-10. There were a lot of runs in this drive, but in a comeback effort, they took a lot of time off the clock. A quick 3-and-out from Alabama, which made things a little bit more interesting because this defense just had to stay on the field for a 8-minute drive, and they probably were tired, but then they would fumble the ball, another killer, which was good for this defense though. They just got off the field after that 8-minute drive by Wisconsin. They needed the rest. This sets up Alabama in the red zone. Jalen Milroe would have another touchdown on the ground. The score is now 35-10. After some time passed, Alabama will eventually score on this pass from Jalen Milroe to Cuevas. A great catch, by the way, a 34-yard touchdown pass. The score is 42-10. And if the game wasn't already over, which it was, it's definitely over at this point. Checking out the stats here, we have Jalen Milroe 12 for 17, 196 yards, 3 touchdowns. Pretty good game from Jalen Milroe. He also led the team in rushing with 14 carries, 75 yards, and 2 TDs. Ryan Williams led the way with receiving yards, 4 receptions, 78 yards, and 1 touchdown. Wisconsin did have a little success running the ball in this game, but it wasn't enough to necessarily change anything. The quarterback play was not that good either. A lot of off-target throws. He did have a few dimes in there, but for the most part, a lot of off-target throwing. Now, like I said earlier, I think this was the most complete game Alabama has had. And I'm going to talk about 3 things I liked, 3 things I didn't like in this video, but I want to let you guys know before I get into any of that, my overall impressions of this game is very positive. I love most of the things that I saw, and there are some concerns, but let's talk about the good things that I saw, at least the things that I really wanted to see. Number 1, less penalties. Alabama only had 4 penalties in this game for 40 yards. That's a huge improvement from that last game that we saw against South Florida, which was horrible. A lot of penalties, especially with the offensive line, and you're not going to win a game against top tier competition if you're having miscues like that. Another thing that I really did like was the clean game that Alabama played. No fumbles in this game. Everything looked a lot more crisp. The offense looked like they knew exactly what they were doing when the plays were called, and I enjoyed every single second of that. The next thing that I really did like, and that was the offensive line play. Jalen Milroe on pass plays had all day to throw the ball. And on the flip side, the run blocking was pretty good too. The only place where they seemed to struggle just a little bit was on those outside runs. They really couldn't get a lot of that going, but a lot of those runs were wide receiver involved, so I think the performance by the line was fine. When it came to running it up the middle, they did a fantastic job with that, and I think that's just one of those things where you have to take what the defense gives you. Wisconsin's strong suit was their defense on the outside, so the outside runs were not there as much, but running up the gut, as we saw with that Jalen Milroe touchdown, the offensive line did a fantastic job with that. But let's talk about the things that I think we need to clean up, some things that we need to work on. And the first small critique that I have is that we need better pressure up front. Overton is a guy who I think is emerging as one of the best linemen that we have, and not just the best lineman that we have, one of the best linemen in the country. But you have to look at this as a collection, and other than Overton, I don't necessarily know if we're going to get a lot of reliable pressure in these other games. Now, the offensive line for Wisconsin is nothing to sneeze at, but at the same time, I think we could have done a better job at getting pressure. He did have a lot of times where he had very clean pockets, and I'm not saying that we have to get sacks every single play, but I thought that we did lack a little bit in the overall pressure, but I do think we will get better and better in this category. The next thing that I want to kind of nitpick here is the fact that we still saw a few holes in that secondary. For example, this one play right here that I was able to capture, this really should have been a touchdown pass. He just simply missed it. It was a lot better today than it was against South Florida, but at the end of the day, when you face a QB who can actually make those throws, you're going to find yourself either in a shootout or losing that game. And last but not least, we still haven't seen this team be in a position where they have to have a sustained drive. This is a nitpick as well. Like I said, these 3 things are going to be nitpicky because I enjoyed this game and I thought it was a fantastic job by Alabama. They went in and handled it that way. Quick, concise, and consistent, and got out of town. But at the end of the day, I just had to bring this up as well. This is something that we will have to be able to do going forward, and I'm not saying they aren't capable of doing it. I think one of the biggest reasons for us not necessarily seeing these sustained drives is because a lot of the times Alabama can get pass happy for some odd reason. And as of right now, the teams that we have faced, we're just way too explosive and we score in like 2 plays. The run, I honestly think should have been utilized a lot more. I love seeing Jalen Milroe run the football, but at the same time, I don't want to see my QB get hurt either. And in this game, it felt like we forced the quarterback run when we didn't necessarily need to. Now, when they ran it in the red zone, I was fine with that, but a lot of times if you're like, say on the 50 or the opposite 40, different situations like that, you don't necessarily have to run a QB run. Now, I saw it a few times in the last game, and now I'm seeing it again, and I'm thinking to myself, Jalen Milroe, 14 carries, Justice Haynes, 2, Jam Miller, 9. The run game was working so well against Wisconsin, especially up the middle. I would love to see that. If you're not going to be able to stop this play, run this thing again. Sometimes when I'm watching Alabama this season, I think we're trying too hard. Like, Don't complicate things. Keep things a little bit more simple if you have the opportunity to, because there will be times where you're going to have to get a little bit more complex. You're going to have to get a little bit more creative. And I think we're just overthinking things. Sometimes you just hike the ball, hand it off to your running back, do it about 2-3 times in a row, and you probably got a first down. After that, no need to drop back if you don't have to. And then you find yourself in like a 3rd and 7 instead of a 3rd and 2 where you can run the ball again. And so I think this team has that capability of just running the ball down teams' throats sometimes, and I haven't seen us really do that or try to do it, is all I'm saying. I want to see that in action, and I think that will clean up the sustained drive problem. That, along with some more quick passes, and I think the overall summary of this last point that I'm making about this team, it always feels like Bama is going for the home run. And certain games when that is taken away, will we be able to adjust to what we are seeing? Will we be able to simply take what the defense is giving us? Overall, man, I'm very excited to what this team can be. I don't even think we have seen the best of this Alabama Crimson Tide team yet. This team right here can play even better, in my humble opinion, than we saw today. And that is the scary thing about this Alabama team. But let me know what y'all think. Do you agree with my nitpicks here? Do you agree with my good and the bad? Let me know down below in the comment section. And with all that being said, I see you guys in the next video.